My low-cost CNC tool, bought on eBay, has gone through a number of changes since the original install. There was much learning, missteps, and excitement of making progress, but it went a little sideways with some drilling. This was fine while I was pushing deep into the spoil board by design or accident, but when I tried to spare the spoil board surface by only cutting deep enough to clear the bottom of the part, something strange happened. Sometimes this was my fault, with poor drill depth selection, but sometimes my numbers were right on, so I blamed having been sent material of the wrong thickness. Then, one day, when removing a part stuck tightly on with double-sided tape, I noticed that one segment of the segmented aluminum bed flexed versus the next segments. That was a wow. I needed a stiffer bed. So I unbelievably found a piece of 1/2 inch hot rolled steel on Etsy of exactly the right width and length needed. But how do I drill the thing? It was too heavy to work with on my drill press mounted high on my workbench, so I decided to let the CNC do the work. This was a first for steel, so I was careful with the feeds and used the RPMs as if I were working on my drill press, using the pecking method with cooling and lubricant. These were exciting times for sure. This thing doubled the weight of the CNC and was not going to move, so I only secured it at the corners, and after install, found that it was surprisingly level. From there, I prepared and leveled a HDPE spoil board with a small cup to contain any stray lubricants when cutting metal, and secured it with a super sticky double-sided tape. So, my CNC has gotten heavy, and that is the first new upgrade. Then I heard about FluidNC, a new CNC control system and software that places all of the control functionality within the control box versus the control box having to be connected to a computer and only being usable when the computer was on. This had always bugged me, given that modern 3D printers, which were essentially CNC devices that had their smarts on board. Not only was there software, but boards were available to make it happen. So I chose a PI box control board and began the process to make it happen on my CNC, and discarded the old USB switchboard that did no useful computing. It was a learning process, but the ESP board that came with it had an onboard antenna, which I did not think would work so well under the steel control box cover. So I eventually switched it out for an ESP32 board that utilized a remote antenna. As you see, given the expanded capability of this FluidNC setup, I also added X, Y, and Z end stops, as well as a Z-touch plate to simplify job setup. Now I can do a real home. Eventually, the prototype setup was cleaned up and stuffed into the original box. But I also bought a new wall-mounted box to provide more space and less stuffing. But it's working right now, and I'm not quite ready to break something and have to figure out what I did wrong with the move and not give up wall storage space. That's it. Now I can complete the CNC jobs upstairs at my work desk, download it to the FluidNC board, then go downstairs. Or actually, I could start the job from there, but that's a no way. Anyway, after walking downstairs, I can start and monitor the job from my phone or the new standalone workstation laptop. What a journey from a cheap Chinese CNC beginning. Thanks for watching until the end.